How's it going, everybody? This is Rob of Novakast back with another Death Note video. We're going to be talking about episodes 29 and 30. We're getting closer and closer to the end, or at least when it comes down to, videos, because with every video, it's like, 2 episodes? So after this, be like, 4 more episodes? One of them kind of being an odd number, considering that episode 37 is the last one. But anywho, we'll be talking about episodes 29 and 30 with this one. Really excited. So without further delay, quick note that, again, there may be some spoilers, so please check out the show if you have not seen it yet. With that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So with this particular episode, they're actually able to stick it back to the Mafia members to some degree, with Light figuring out one of the members, as well as using them and writing their name in the Death Note to make a list of names of all the people that are in the group, and literally send it to Light. And we get to see more of the whole thing with him forfeiting the Death Note in this whole situation, so that way he doesn't remember himself as Kira, but at the same time also okay, how do I explain this? Because this is actually a really cool plan, but I think it was like on the whole thing was whether or not using it as, if anybody else was using it. So, okay. So, here was the whole setup for the plan, because they were able to get the name of the mobster, or the mafia criminal, and write his name in the Death Note, and use him to, again, mail the names and pictures of the people that were part of the group. Light forfeits his Death Note and uses the other Death Note that he had in his possession to retain his memories, but at the same time not having this, the Death Note of his original, his Death Note. So to some extent he has the memories, but at the same time he's not placed as Kira, or doesn't have, the Death Note in his. It's weird. It's weird. But Anywho, what they end up doing is they set it up where Misa acts as Kira and contacts the police and makes them an offer to help in this situation when asked for proof that it's Kira. And I like this line where, well, with so many Death Notes, in the same place, or not in the same place, but in the world, how could I actually prove to you that it's me, really? Not by killing anybody, for that matter, because anybody would go for the same target. Sure enough, they agreed to that. So instead, Misa, who is acting as Kira, says, you know what, I'll give you my Death Note. And sure enough, they give Ryuk's Death Note to the police, and they're able to see Ryuk for the first time. And to some regard, the person who ends up using the Death Note, or decides to use the Death Note in order to enact this complete plan, because I guess what they're going to do was they were going to set it up where somebody uses the Death Note, makes the deal with the Shinigami to get the Shinigami eyes, and by looking at the images of the individuals who are part of the group, who I guess were set up to die, because that was another part of the plan, is they wrote down all their names to die at a certain point in time. And whoever was using the Shinigami eyes, or had the ability, would look at the images and see which ones were dying, because once they die, their lifespan and name would disappear from the image. So sure enough, that's what happens. Now, the person who volunteers for this role is Director Yagami, who also makes the deal for the Shinigami eyes. And sure enough, once all the mobsters start dying, they go into the hideout. Which, by the way, the mobster who sent the information to Light also gave them the location of their hideout. They, with SWAT, decide to then proceed to break in, or not break in, but, start their assault into the hideout to try to find the Death Note. Sure enough, to some regard, they find Mello with the Death Note. And with the Shinigami eyes, Director Yagami is able to see his real name. And for the life of me, I could not remember it for this review, and I kind of feel stupid for not remembering it. But either way, he has his real name. And he's about to write the name in the Death Note. But unfortunately, he kind of backs down and doesn't want to do it. And Director Yagami ends up getting shot in the back by a random mobster who's still alive. And that mobster gets killed. And they're able to, after a whole situation, they barely escape. At least the police barely escape the whole situation. The episode ends with, unfortunately, Director Yagami at his deathbed. And to some regard, we have Light still trying to convince his dad to write his name, but doesn't. And with his last breath is happy, by the way, looking at Light's name and his lifespan, that he doesn't have the notebook and therefore isn't Kira. So in his last moments, he is happy and content that he got to see that his son, although, I mean, his son played a trick, was not Kira. And we have this interesting line with Ryuk about how, like, anybody who owns the Death Note is dealt a life of pain, misery, and suffering. So, in some regard, he was interested or kind of amused with the fact that with, Director Yagami only having it for a short period of time and realizing that his son may not be Kira, he got to die happy. So, yeah, that sucks. But, we also had a really weird character pop up. I think I should mention this, because there was a little bit of tension where another Shinigami pops up by the name of Sidon, or Sido. I think it was Sido or Sidon, who actually has a really cool design. As much as grim as the Shinigami designs are, I really like him. It kind of looks like just, a creature in a cloak with wings. But either way, it looks downright terrifying. But the reason that this Shinigami showed up was because apparently Ryuk stole his Death Note and is pestering Ryuk for the Death Note. And by the end of it, he does get it back. Because at this point, and by the way, at this point, Light can, deal with that loss, because let's face it, inevitably he has one more notebook. Out of the 3, and now 2, he still has another notebook that he can use. So at this point, it's just, I will say it was an odd occurrence with this character, but at the same time, yeah, it was cool. The episode itself was great, and we unfortunately have to lose a kind of interesting character, that being of Director Yagami. So I kind of felt bad for him, but either way, I guess that's par for the course with this series. All right, so episode 30 starts off kind of in an interesting way, where literally, to some extent, a lot of people are accepting Kira, or at least, the quote-unquote justice of Kira. I guess crime and anything involving crime has gone down, and governments or countries like the U.S. are basically no longer going against Kira. And oh lord, it is causing an uproar, especially with the variety of different situations involving Kira and the investigation. And I guess to some extent, especially when it comes down to Nier, he's now questioning the fact that maybe perhaps Light, or the L2 as he calls him, may perhaps be Kira, especially with the information of the rules possibly being fake, or some of them being fake. And he gets this information by Mello, by the way, who survived the whole situation from the assault on the Mafia hideout, who has a good chunk of his face messed up, unfortunately. But anywho, yeah, he gives Nier the information that he needs, and he contacts Light and the other investigators, kind of bringing up his thoughts on the whole situation. That again, somebody, more particularly the current L, that being Light, could very well be Kira. And good lord, this kind of stirs some issues with a variety of the different investigators, who question the fact that maybe Light might actually be Kira, and they are just, to an extent, is just stirring up trouble. Also, really odd thing about this episode is now that everybody can see Ryuk, they just treat him as some kind of like random, like just kind of average guy. I kind of find that to be weird, again, because everybody sees him now. So yeah, that's odd. It's extremely odd, but either way, but to some regard, everybody is kind of like wondering, could this actually be the case where it comes down to Light being Kira? To make matters worse, Light, playing as his Kira persona, contacts the President of the United States and tells him that, I don't want to give you any trouble, but you need to stop Nier. And sure enough, near the end of the episode, the fortress that Nier is doing his investigation at is being attacked by rioters. And the host of Sakura TV, who has created a new TV show called Kira's Kingdom, is at the scene watching the whole thing happen. So yeah, that's screwed up. But it ends with Light kind of declaring his victory, but who really knows if this is an actual victory? I don't know. Either way, it's a crazy moment to end the video or episode on. Either way, this episode, or at least these two episodes, have actually been really good. I've enjoyed them most of all. So, or at least not most of all, but enjoying them so far. And I will say, going back, it is weird that now that everybody's touched the notebook, everybody treats Ryuk as he's just some, just normal thing. I mean, it's a freaking death god, for Christ's sakes. But either way, this episode's been great. With that being said, though, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Truly appreciate it. If you guys can, please leave a like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you guys want to follow us on social media, links are in the description down below, as well as check out our daily content and the weekly podcast. With that being said, this is Rob Novakast signing off. Have a good one, and take care. Peace.